Morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We've got a lot of you coming in today, which is fantastic. Come and say hello in the chat if you can. You'll notice that you have a public chat box and then a private chat box. Okay, and I'll come back onto that later. But first things first, darlings, good morning and welcome to How to Price for Profit. Now, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Pia Jackson. I am the head of customer success at Slick. I'm one of the senior business coaches. I'm also known as the Slick Fairy Godmother. Why? Because I'm here to make all your dreams come true. Now, I do have a little bit of bad news, but I also have some good news. Now, the bad news is that unfortunately Ruth is ill today, so she won't be able to make it. But the good news is that I have all the information, okay, and we are joined by another blonde called Rob, who is our COO and salon expert extraordinaire. So he's very kindly agreed to jump in at the very last minute and join us this morning. Hello, Rob.
Hey, Pia. Yeah, obviously sad news that Ruth can't be with us, but delighted that I instead get the chance to join you on the stage, and I get to take centre stage alongside you. But yeah, obviously lots of data that we can share, and probably some stuff that maybe we can add in from a different perspective that maybe Ruth wouldn't have been able to add in terms of we just finished our review of December and what that looked like for the industry, so we can share some kind of sneak peeks, which I think should give you guys, it certainly gives me a huge amount of confidence about the industry, because it was a record-breaking period for many salons.
Yes, so some exciting stuff coming up, so stay tuned. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, Kay. Now, first things first, my darlings, is I just want to reiterate, perhaps for those of you that haven't joined us on one of these masterclasses before, we are here to learn from each other. Now, that means please, please, please do put any questions, any experiences, any tips, any tricks into the chat box. There is no such thing as a silly question. We want to hear from you. And if for whatever reason you don't want to put it in the main chat box, you can also send it via private chat to either myself or Rob, and we can read out your questions anonymously. All right. So let us begin, my darlings. How to price for profit. Now, we're going to be covering 4 topics this morning. So get your notebooks and your pens out. We're going to be looking at how to approach a price increase. We're going to be looking at gender neutral pricing. Is it for you? Is it not? We're going to be looking at the do's and the don'ts of pricing. And we're also going to be looking at a successful salon owner experience when it comes to pricing. But to kick us all off, to get our brains flowing, the juices flowing, everything pumping, we're going to start, my darlings, with a poll. Now, answer this question. I'm going to pop it in the chat for you, and please do, fingers on buzzers, answer the question. What percentage of businesses set their prices according to their competition? What do you think the answer would be here? You've got 1 minute to put your answers down. This is very interesting. We've currently got a tie. So please do pop your questions down. And for those of you that are just joining us, welcome, by the way. This is all about how to price for profit. Please do put any questions, experiences, tips, tricks, whatever, into the chat box. If you want to send it to us privately, you can as well. Okay, right. Oh, some votes still coming in. This is very interesting, team. Okay, this is giving us a good insight into what's going on in the industry when it comes to pricing. What percentage of businesses set their prices according to their competition? Is it 20%, 50%, 70%, or 90%? Right, I am going to end the poll now. So if you haven't got your votes in, tough titties. Right, okay, so this is very interesting. So 17% of you think 20% of businesses set their prices according to the competitors. 15% of you think 50%, 41% of you think 70%, and 27% of you think 90%. Well, my darlings, I can tell you the answer is 90% of businesses set their prices according to their competition, which, to be very blunt about it, my darlings, essentially means that 90% of their businesses have got the wrong pricing. Now, what does that mean? Poor pricing essentially means poor profitability. Why? Because each salon is different. It doesn't matter if you're employed, self-employed, you rent your premises, you own your premises. It doesn't matter. If you look at the salon down the road and say, okay, they're charging £30 for a cut and blow dry, so I'm going to charge 28. That salon down the road has different rent, different wage structures, different tea, different coffee, different products, different everything. So how can you price your services against what the local salon is doing?
Pia, why do you think it is that such a high proportion of businesses do just price based on what's down the road?
I think for two reasons. I think one, a lot of people don't know how to do pricing properly. The other thing is they think that I'm in competition with salon down the road, and therefore, in order to be competitive, I need to price lower. Karen says laziness, which could also be true.
I was really hoping that was actually directed at Kerry, but
Kerry's the last person that's going to be lazy. Fear, says Emma. Yeah, it could be fear.
Yeah.
I think there's several reasons here, and it probably differs per salon owner. But I think those are the main two. Rob, do you have any other thoughts?
I actually think Donna, who's just put in competition, is the main one, scared of losing customers.
Exactly.
I think it is, and look, I run Slick, and it's very hard to take a step back. You're in a bubble, and it's really important to take a step back from your business and to think about the fundamentals of your business. Look at your profitability. And Martin's made a great point about understanding that financial side. To take a step back, you need to understand the financial side. But it's having confidence, and I think that's where, as a business owners, it can be quite hard to have that confidence. But look at your business. If your business is successful, which the vast majority of you guys run successful businesses, are clients turning up? Yes. Are they paying? Yes. Are they coming back frequently? Yes. Then have you got a loyal customer base? And that's why I saw a really interesting article in HJ about, is it more important to have new clients versus loyal clients, which I just think is the most ridiculous conversation to be having, because loyal clients allow you to change your prices because you know they're going to come back. And people we see it all the time. People, you put up your prices by a couple of quid, clients don't bat an eyelid.
No.
It doesn't make a difference. You can get messages often people say, well, I'm glad you have done that because I felt bad that it was so cheap. And that confidence only comes from understanding your financials.
Yeah.
But once you understand that, and you understand that you do have a loyal client base, you're not going to lose clients. If you are proud of what you do and you deliver a great service, a great experience, and so yes, it's the teas and the coffees, the backwash, it's the whole end-to-end experience and the service, then yeah, you're going to be able to put your prices up.
Exactly.
And you're going to be able to charge what you're worth.
Exactly. I mean, I think the key point here is making sure that your prices are correct to start with before the price increase on top of that. So Victoria says, what is a good profit percentage in our industry? It depends. I mean, I've got some salons that do a 10%, but I think, again, you've got to have the right foundation of pricing to start with in order to then build upwards.
Just on Victoria's question, I mean, yeah, you should be aiming for 10%. It's the average is between 5 and 8, but really you want to be aiming for about 10%. I think Hannah, yeah, basically the working on your business is more important than working in the business. And it's really important to take that time, because trust me, if running these calculations takes 2 hours, that 2 hours you could be doing a cut and a blow dry, you could be doing 2 cuts, blow dries, whatever. What are you making in those 2 hours? You're making 60 quid, 100 quid, 120 quid, even 200 quid. I can guarantee that the results of putting your prices up, which are going to benefit you for the whole year, are going to generate more than 200 quid.
Exactly.
It's so easy to look at, well, that 2 hours is going to give me X, so I'm going to do that. And it's hand to mouth. And that's where we have to step back and we have to look at, okay, what is that 2 hours going to deliver for the whole year? Because the whole year, if you're putting prices up by 5%, well, that's a 5% increase. If you're a £100,000 business, 5% on £100,000 is a lot more than 200 quid.
Exactly. Sharon, your point about cutting back on expenses due to cost of living crisis, hold that thought, because I'm coming on to that in a little bit. But what we want to make sure is that we are setting the foundation of pricing correctly, because if your prices are not correct to start with, you're essentially doing more work than you're charging for. So you're essentially paying for part of your client's service. Okay. So another little poll, please, my darlings. How often do you do a price increase? Again, in the chat, pop your questions in. Is it at least every year? Occasionally, can't remember, never done a price increase? Put your experiences in your own business into the poll, and then we'll come back to questions in a second. Ooh, interesting. We're having a few votes for never. Oh, darlings. Well, I'm pleased that you're here. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. If you haven't put your vote in, pop it in now. And then I'm going to end the poll and give you the results. Okay. Interestingly, we have got 64% of you are doing it at least every year. 35% of you are doing it occasionally, and 2% never. Interesting. Okay, we'll come back to this in a bit. Okay, one thing to think about, and Sharon, this comes back to your point about cost of living. Never assume your client's financial position. In the last recession of 2008, 2009, consumer spend continued to increase. Okay. And over Christmas, clients spent a whopping £1.3 billion on hair and beauty treatments, despite this cost of living crisis. Okay. It's not all doom and gloom, and we cannot assume we know our client's financial position. We know that clients will go without in other areas in order to ensure that they're getting their hair and beauty treatments. There will always be a demand for your service. Okay. Humans are creatures of habit. Okay. They have to come and get their hair and beauty treatments. Their habits don't really change. Now, already we are an industry that is underpriced. You are in a position of power in order to set your prices correctly, so you won't be affected. And I think, Rob, you've got some interesting info on average bill, haven't you?
Yeah, so average bill. So we look at a lot of data here at Slick on the health of the industry. So this is an early shameless plug for the 29th of January it is, where we are doing our big deep dive on Q4 state of the industry. So all of the data in December, what's the industry doing, what are the big trends. We're going to pop the link in the chat, and please, you need to be there. It is literally the most important sort of event that we run. So please make sure you're there. But sneak peek on that, average bill is up. It's up double digits. So salons are charging more. Now, if clients weren't able to pay that and weren't willing to pay that, what do you think will happen to bookings? You'd think if people can't pay that, bookings would fall. What has happened to bookings? Bookings are up. And they are up year on year. So yes, they're up versus November, but they are up versus year on year. So this is average. This is across all of the salons. There will be salons who are slightly different. There'll be salons that are even further up. But consumers are continuing to spend in hair and beauty. It's something we talk about a lot. It's something that's been going on for years. It's called the lipstick effect. And essentially it is a concept where consumers will trade down in other areas. They will start, rather than buying Heinz baked beans, they will buy Tesco's own brand baked beans. Saves them 10, 20p, whatever it is. What they will not do is they will not compromise on their beauty. Beauty is the thing that people want to spend money on. It makes them feel good. It makes them look good. It gives them the confidence, especially in tough times. They want to feel good about themselves. They're happy to save elsewhere in their lives. But beauty, hair, grooming, it is one of those areas where they want to spend money. And to Pierre's point, in the last recession in 2008, every other sector went down. Hair and beauty went up. And I cannot tell you this enough. All the data that we see, clients continue to spend more. Yes, there will be one client who says, "Oh, I can't afford it." That's one client out of how many have you got? The average salon's got 2,000 clients. So there's a huge thing about recency bias of you attribute to one client, two clients that say something, is that shouldn't dictate your strategy. And I saw a great comment from Emma. Those aren't your clients. You cannot base your business around one or two clients. You have to base your business around the majority of your clients. And so there will always be, you won't be able to please everybody.
No.
And you shouldn't try to please everybody.
Karen's put a great comment in, which a lot of people have agreed with. My client feedback contradicts, unfortunately. Most of them are coming less and less, and I've lost loads of regulars since February last year. Okay, Karen, a couple of things I would recommend here is, first of all, look at your visit frequency. So how often clients are coming in. They should be coming in between 8 to 10 weeks. If they are not, there are two things that you can do. One, I would make sure that you and your team are rebooking, ideally when the client is in front of you. Rebooking starts when the client walks in through the door. And that comes down to having a really good rebooking script. And you want to be rebooking them for 8 to 10 weeks rather than 20 weeks. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would suggest is make sure that your marketing is up to scratch in terms of every 7 weeks, every 12 weeks, every 24 weeks, an automated marketing text is going out to prompt clients to book back in. Now, there is a chance that you will lose some clients. Okay, we've got some examples here. We've lost some to mobile hairdressers and home hairdressers. That is going to happen. However, what we have found, certainly I've experienced this with my salons who have put their prices up last year and the year before, by putting their prices up, you are automatically attracting higher spenders. Now, that might sound bonkers, but it is true and it works. Now, we'll talk about pricing structures in terms of tiered pricing structures to help accommodate those who perhaps can't afford your price increase. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's not all doom and gloom. I would try those two things, rebooking and marketing. Make sure that those two things are absolutely tip top and up scratch. And that will help clients come back in more often within their cycles and prevent them from going elsewhere. Yemi says, I put my prices up and I got better clients who are happy to pay because they get their money worth based on salon experience, comfortability and salon environment. Thank you, Yemi. Exactly right.
And I think it's a really tough. These are tough conversations to have, both with your team, but also yourself.
Yeah.
And if this is tough, so I'm being really truthful here, guys. Getting your hair cut or coloured at home it's not a great experience. I do not want. My wife tried it once. Does she want to have her hair coloured with a head over the bath? No. She's saving 10, 20 quid. It's not worth it. It's a crap experience, excuse my French. People want to go somewhere where they can feel good, they can feel pampered, they're getting nice coffee, they're getting a break from their kids, they're getting a break from the dog, whatever it might be. Now, what are you offering? So is your service level, is your salon experience better than your client's house?
Yeah.
And it takes the time to step back. And when I used to work at L'Oreal, we used to encourage salon owners to go and stand outside their salon. What does the window say? Have you still got that 1990s TG poster up there? Yeah, okay, that's probably not right. Do the windows look clean? Does the salon look clean? Take a step back. It's the whole client experience. And if your experience is worthwhile and people are willing to pay for it, people will pay. But sometimes people will leave because actually the experience isn't worth it.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to accept. But we as business owners have to take that step back.
Yeah. I've had a lovely message privately, which says, I always have a couple of clients who complain about price increase. However, that means 98% are paying and happy. Exactly. And I think that's very, very key to remember. You will get one or two or a handful of clients who might kick up a fuss. The rest are happy. And what I always say is, don't do something at the behest of the few that's working for the many. Okay. Right. So remember back to COVID, that horrible time. People were prepared to break lockdown and get secret haircuts. And when we reopened, people were queuing round the block. Okay. COVID didn't stop your demand for your services. If you charged another 10, 20 pounds, would they have turned away? No. So how do we make sure that we are pricing properly for your worth? Okay. So we're going to talk about the profit principle. I'm just going to have a little look at some of the messages. I used to offer rebooking, but I found more cancelling or not turning up. Karen, my darling, are you taking a deposit? That would be my first question. I find it tough to talk about it. Last year, I put up a notice. One person complained they didn't see it. If it's one or two or a handful of clients, that is something you can deal with.
But also, I mean, I know you're going to talk about communication, Pierre, but it's very important to communicate really clearly and think about, again, have you put it in all of the places where clients can expect to see it? Your website, have you sent them out a text blast? Have you put it on your socials? Have you put a notice in the salon, in the window? They've then got no excuse.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in a bit.
We will. Okay. The profit principle. How do we price our services for profit? It's very simple. Cost plus profit equals price. Now, what do we mean by that? So if you take all of the outgoing costs that it takes to run your business for an entire year, rent, wages, tea, coffee, stock, utilities, the cost of having the radio on, every single thing that it costs you to open the doors to your business before you've got a single client through the door, I want you to go and get this figure. You should be able to get it from your accountant if you don't have it to hand. Let's say it's 200 grand. Okay. Right. Then you want to make 20 grand profit on top. I'm just pulling figures out of my hat. Okay. So the figure we've got here is the cost and the profit, which is 220 grand. Then what we want to do is take that figure and we want to divide it down. So we want to divide it down to what it costs to open the doors to your business per month, per week, per day, and then per hour. Why? Because if the cost of your business, or the cost of opening the doors to your business, is £40 an hour, and the vast majority of your services are between £20 and £30 an hour, you are making a loss, not a profit. So we want to make sure that before any clients have come into the salon, any service that you are charging covers the cost of your costs and your profit. Okay, so this is why we want to know exactly what the running cost to your business is per hour, and then we make sure that we are doing our services correctly. Does that all make sense, my darlings? I know, Kerry, you've had an experience with this. So please feel free to pop that in the chat. But that is how you work out your prices for profit. Now, we do have a little free gift for you, my darlings, which I'll show you in a second. But there are sort of 3 areas of cost that we need to think about. So the business premises, the products, and the staff. Okay. Now, just a quick aside here. People often think, for example, that the cut and blow dry is the most profitable service because it's just a little bit of shampoo and conditioner. There's only labor, so it must be profitable. However, the labor is still your wages. So it still needs products, it still needs running costs, and it needs wages. If you're not adding profit to your service price, you are only going to break even, and therefore it's not going to be profitable. So make sure when you're running these numbers, you've got the cost to the business. So the business premises, the products, the staff, every single outgoing that it costs you to open the doors to your business, plus the profit you want to make. Merge those 2 together and then divide down. Okay. Now, when we finish this masterclass today, you will get in your follow-up email, you will get a recording of this session and you will get a free gift, which is the profit principle calculator. It's very, very easy. You just bung in all the costs to your for your business. You put your profit in at the top, and then you work out how many hours each person is working, and it will spit out exactly what you are supposed to be charging per year, per hour, and per 45 minutes. Kerry says, my year on year since I've been with Slick 4 years has increased 10% each year. I'm also 94% booked in January. Oh, all thanks to the help and support from Slick. Well, and also, Kerry, it's because you've done all your numbers and you look at your numbers. And I remember we had a chat about what your price, your cost per hour was. And then we had a jolly good look at what prices, didn't we? So Kerry is a fantastic example of how to do this, how to be successful. So I hope that all makes sense in terms of pricing properly. Rob?
There was one great question from Claire, who she did this with on a 48-week year. 48-week year, it's an interesting concept. Why? Because essentially, if you're taking all of your costs, if you're taking 52 weeks worth of costs, but actually then dividing that by 48, you're essentially going to cover those costs in theory in 48 weeks, which means you've got 4 free weeks. That's 4 free weeks for holidays, whatever you want to do. So you could do this on a 50-week year. You could do it on 49, 48. By doing that, what you are doing is you're building in a buffer into your pricing, which allows you to then take a week off, 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, knowing that your costs are all covered. You're not having to stress about that you should be working, feeling guilty. Everyone needs time to take time off to recharge. You're not having to worry, but the week before you need to cram everything in to pay for your holiday. It's all paid for. It's all in your numbers. So look, everyone's going to be different in terms of their work-life balance. I'm sure we've got people that take 6, 7 weeks off. Everyone's got different ambitions in terms of, and back to Piers' point about pricing as from your competitor, you've got to think about what you want to achieve. But doing it that way on a 48-week year is a great way of doing that.
Yeah. Hayley says, should you add wages into running costs? Yes, it is a cost to your business. How much does this work when staff are on commission? So I would probably take last year's figures, Paula, look at the commission, add that into the costs, and then use that as an example for this year's figures. That's what I would recommend doing. So have that in as an outgoing cost.
And so same with Kieran. There's a question there on sort of labour and for self-employed. And again, it's the same principle of okay, well, what is self-employed? You are probably going to be on some kind of revenue share agreement. Okay, well, what proportion of the revenue are you getting? That goes into your numbers. What are the costs that you're paying, therefore? So you need to, everyone will work on a different revenue share. We've seen all sorts of splits over the years.
Yeah.
But you need to sort of essentially prorate all of those costs and the revenue into the same model. But ultimately, the model doesn't change. It's still exactly the same P&L model. You're just changing the inputs depending on your revenue share.
Yes, exactly. And one other thing to think about, especially for those clients who are a bit funny about a price increase or are worried about cost of living. One thing that I think we touch on in a minute, but I just want to pop in now, is some of my most successful salons have a tiered pricing structure according to the expertise level of the staff. Okay, so let's say you as salon owner, you put your prices up X amount. A client comes to you and says, I'm afraid I can't afford it. The answer is that's absolutely fine. Why don't we give you to stylist X, who is within your affordability range? So you're not losing the client, you are transferring them to another stylist who is within their affordability range. Okay, so that's why it's a good idea to have a tiered pricing structure if you can, if you've got staff in your salon, because it helps clients over to stylists that they can afford. Okay, and it makes that conversation a lot easier to do. Okay, we've got some. Okay, so gender neutral pricing. Now, this is sort of a bit of a hot topic of the moment. And the key goal here is that we want to make sure that we are being inclusive of all our clientele and doing what's right by them. Now, this may mean that you do introduce gender neutral pricing. This may mean that you don't. You know your clientele. Some may feel it's relevant and works for them. Some may feel it will cause disruption and confusion. And if this is an area that you are unsure about your clients, ask them. Okay, would it make them feel more comfortable if you implemented a gender neutral pricing structure, or would it not? Remember, they are paying for your time according to the length of their hair. So that's something that you've got to remember. The timing is important. Has anybody got any experience of gender neutral pricing? Have you implemented it in your salon? Have you kept it the same? What is your experience if you've done anything like that? The alternative is that you may want to introduce a pricing structure which is based specifically on length of hair. You don't want to call it gender neutral pricing. You may want to call it length of hair. Now, this is something that a lot of my salons do, and it works nicely. So they have cut and blow dry long, they have cut and blow medium, they have cut and blow dry short, and they make sure that in the description for the online booking for these services, they've written out exactly what that means. So long hair would be from the shoulders down, for example. By doing that, you are then pricing according to your time spent doing the service. So it could be an hour for a long cut and blow dry, and it could be 45 minutes for a medium and a short. So this is a very, very good thing to do if you want to make sure that you are pricing by length of service. This will not only benefit you, it will benefit your team as well. Sharon says, for technical services, we have gender neutral pricing, but not for cuts. Karen says, I do that with colors. Joanna says, we took out gents prices and put in short cut, clipper cut. For color, it's short or long hair. Tina says, unfortunately, gents don't expect to pay the same for a wet cut as a lady's wet cut, especially when we have several barbers in town. So, Tina, for that, I would then recommend that you do a pricing structure according to length of hair. That might be what would work best for you. So there was 2 examples of salons that have introduced a different pricing structure dependent on what their clients wanted and what would make them feel more comfortable and what would work best for their business. Little tip for you, my darlings. In Slick, you have the client tags. If you're not using your client tags, get on it because they are fantastic. You can set them up however you want. A lot of people will use the little lion emoji for thick hair, long hair. You can use them for NHS discounts, student discounts, needs a deposit, is a naughty client. There's various different tags that you can use which will help your team when they are taking bookings for clients. They will be able to see exactly what type of client it is. Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Just
Yeah.
on this, I think Lisa made a great point of people have a perception on stuff should be cheaper, and I think so. Kids is a great example of, well, everything for children is cheaper. You go into a restaurant, a children's meal is cheaper. There's less food, therefore it's cheaper.
Yeah.
People get. I think we in the industry, we know hair and beauty incredibly well. It's what you guys do day to day. But there was a time when you probably didn't. Certainly there was a time when I knew nothing about it. And so people have an assumption that it must be cheaper. But that assumption is based off exactly that assumption is based off incorrect or incomplete knowledge and incomplete data. And so that's where our job is to them. And so if you say a kid's cut is 45 minutes and a lady's cut is 45 minutes, well, they're the same price. Why would I charge less per minute to do a child's hair than I would for a lady's hair? That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
And so that's why actually communicating timings on pricing can be very helpful, because it helps give that client an understanding of how you are charging. I'm charging per minute. That service is 45, that service is 45, therefore they must be the same.
Exactly. And the key thing here, again, is communication. And we'll come on to a little bit of communication in a minute. Another theme that I'll just drop in here, which I will come back to, is boundaries, setting boundaries with clients. We only do kids if the parents are clients. Oh, that's interesting.
But on Tina's point of losing the kids, if you're 80% full, are those kids taking up a slot that could be taken by somebody who is paying more? Because if those kids' services aren't profitable, why are we doing them?
You're paying for them to come in, essentially. Yeah. That's a good point, Donna. Okay. Ladies, profit vampires, says Kerry. Are you talking about children, Kerry? Kerry's not one to mince her words. That's why we love her. Okay. The do's and the don'ts of pricing. Now, darlings, I want your fingers on buzzers, please. This is a round robin, so I want you to put in the chat whether you think do or don't. Okay, so are we ready? Do we do this or do we not? Mates rates, do's or don'ts? What do we think, people? Let's pop it in the chat. Don't, says Donna. Don't. No. Ah, brilliant. Well done, team. Don't. No mates rates. Why are we offering cheaper rates for your mates, friends, or family? Rob, you were going to say something.
Well, no, I was going to ask you why. I mean, I could.
Oh, thanks. I just answered. Remember, we are a business, not a charity. Kay says proper mates pay full price. Exactly. Exactly. Remember, you are a business, not a charity. We need to value our time, our effort, our services, and our profit. If you want to give your mates something, do something that adds value. Okay, we will come back to that in a minute. Sorry, Rob, you were going to say something.
Well, I think it's to your point of added value, but I think it's also we are selling time. We're not. I know this sounds weird, but we're not selling haircuts. We're not selling pedicures. We're not selling manicures. We're selling time. Yep. People are buying time with you, with your staff. And if you are that, you can only give a 1 45-minute time slot. You can't do 2 clients simultaneously. We're not Edward Scissorhands here. So that 45 minutes, somebody can either pay you £20 an hour, or a mate can pay you £10 an hour.
Mhm.
You're not going to get that time back. So that mate is, to use Kerry's phrase, they are sucking profit. And so you can't resell that time. That time's gone. It's a finite resource.
Mhm.
And so that's where, to Piers' point of the way to reward and say thank you to friends for their business, is to give them added value.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, look, if you are desperate to give mates rates, do it out of hours. When there is a full slot that could be filled by somebody that is willing to pay full price, keep that slot available for people that want to pay full price. If you want to give mates rates, do it out of hours. Karen says, I asked them to sit assessments for my junior, which isn't often, so I do it for free. Okay, that's a nice middle ground. If they can go to the junior or somebody that needs to have extra training, fine, crack on. But if there is a space that could be profitable, do not give it away for free or discounted rates. Okay. Okay. Next
So
one. Fingers on buzzers. Oh, yes. Sorry, darling.
Pierre, just do you want to maybe explain a bit about what we mean by added value and some examples that
Yes.
everyone here could maybe sort of use and think about sort of taking forward?
It's coming up. There's a specific section. Don't
Excellent.
you worry.
I
Don't
will.
steal my thunder just yet. Right, darlings. Do's or don'ts. What do we think to this one? Fun service names. So Barbie blonde, iconic blonde, cowboy coppers, bold brunettes. Do's or don'ts? Do or don't? Beachy waves, blow dry, luxury blow dry. What do we think? Do or don't? Do or don't? Okay, we've got some do's coming through. We've got some don'ts coming through. Interesting. Ooh, bit of a mixed bag. Do, don't, do, don't. Okay, interesting. Don't. Okay. Ooh, this is quite an interesting one. Don't, my clients wouldn't understand. I have to be very clear. Okay, team. This is very much a do. As long as, and to Karen's point, as long as they understand what this is, this can work wonders. Now, have you ever heard of Tesla and their vegan leather seats? Okay, what is vegan leather? It's plastic, right? But because they market it as vegan leather, they can charge a premium for it. It's still plastic, but vegan leather sounds a lot more sexy than plastic seats. So, if you want to tart your services up a bit, this will also help excite clients and it'll entice them to book these services and they'd be willing to pay more. So, things like Barbie blonde, iconic blondes, bold brunettes, beachy waves blow dry, luxury blow dry, something that sounds a little bit more exciting than just cut and blow dry. You can obviously have those usual services. But if you want to add a little bit extra, add a little bit of pizzazz, as long as it's explained clearly what it is, you can charge a little premium for it. So that is very much a do, my darlings. Yes.
But
But
I cannot emphasize this enough. You
yeah,
have to explain what it is. It
correct.
used to drive me up the wall at L'Oreal when we would come up with all sorts of ridiculous names for services.
Yes.
And I'd be standing there going, what the F does that mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, we know what it is because we work in the industry. Go and find somebody that doesn't work in the industry, put it in front of them and go, right, what's this? If they can tell you, you're in a good place. If they look at you blankly and go, don't know, then we need to do a better job at explaining it. And so again, online booking, that's why we have descriptions. Your website, you need descriptions. Explain what it is. So yes, it can have pizzazz, but you have to be very clear on what are you getting for that.
Exactly.
And so that's
Exactly.
I cannot stress that enough because otherwise you will put people off.
Yes, exactly. But remember the vegan leather example. It works. Right, do's or don'ts. Next one up. Discounts. Do or don't? What do we think? What do we think to discounts do or don't? Kerry.
No.
Okay, interesting. Vast majority of saying no. Okay, good. Question: why don't we do discounts? Now, there are several reasons here. One, if you do discounts, clients will wait for the discount. They won't come back on a regular cycle. They will go to other salons in the meantime because they are the type of client that only wants a discount. Okay. Karen says brings in the knobheads. Exactly. Right. You will also upset your regular clients, your loyal clients who come in and pay full price. We don't want to be doing that. You will also become known as a discount salon and you are therefore devaluing your services. Okay. However, if you want to do a promotion, if you want to do something to entice clients to come back in, try something that adds value. Okay. So, a half price blow dry, a complimentary treatment, a free retail product, something that adds value rather than discounting. But one important thing to remember, and we know this from the data that we have, okay, the most successful marketing message that has ever been sent is simply a prompt that says, haven't seen you in a while, would love to have you back, here's how to book. That's it. Okay. Another little tip for you, if you are a hair salon, is to use what you already have. So, a very enticing message is something like, did you know that all of our services include a free head massage? You're not doing anything extra. You're not changing anything. You're not discounting. You're not adding any value in terms of giving anything away. You are simply talking about what you already have. Free head massage, lovely. Sign me up. That is what I would recommend if you are thinking of doing a promotion or an offer. If you do want to discount, okay, now obviously there are some salons that will want to discount, and that's absolutely fine. Make sure your prices are correct to start with. If you're doing a half price blow dry or half price cut and blow dry, sorry, and your price is normally 30 quid, it's only 15 quid. Okay. Whereas if you're doing a half price cut and blow dry and your normal price is 60 quid, it feels like more of a discount and you're not losing as much money. Okay. But, and I've done this with my salons, I have put a ban on discounts. No discounts are allowed in any of my salons. Please try and stay away from them if you possibly can. Because the other thing you've got to remember is if you have a discount, especially if it's like a new client discount, you then have to transition that client from the promotional price to a profitable price. Okay. If you are going to do a discount, make sure they realize it's a one-time offer and do it for a limited time, like a month. Okay. Hopefully that all makes sense. Rob, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I guess sort of couple of things. I think the sort of the first thing is if you are doing anything that is promotional, think about who is going to see that message. And to give you an example, my wife booked a hotel, booked for it, and she paid full price. She saw an offer on Black Friday. She went and cancelled the original booking, rebooked exactly the same hotel, same room, but at 20% less. That hotel has lost 20% because their promotional and marketing strategy was, excuse my French, piss poor. And that's why that we have built Slick to allow you to work out which clients are coming in and which aren't. Putting an Instagram post saying 30% off all color, it's easy. You're just going to get clients who either challenge the price and go, well, why am I not getting 30% off? Or the savvy ones will cancel and then rebook and go, well, I want 30% off.
Yeah.
And the second thing to think about is discounts is a cost. Think of discounts. It should be on your P&L as a cost because it is money you're not getting. So whether you do a £100 service and then 10% off, so £10, so it's £90, that £10, you could be using £10 and spending it £10 on coffees, and you could be coming for our colour cut and blow dry and get a free coffee, a free cinnamon bagel, and a magazine. And that would cost you £10 to provide. Now, whether you do £10 of cost or £10 of essentially revenue loss, it's the same thing. You're still actually making £90. And it's really easy to think of discounts and just throwing them away because it's free. They're not free.
They're not free. Exactly. Martin says, what about discount for a newly qualified stylist on a set day? First of all, Martin, I would make sure that the price for the stylist is profitable in the first place. If it's on a set day, that's not so bad. But again, what you've got to remember is that you've then got to transition that client from promotional price to profitable price when they start coming in on a more regular basis. Student discounts. Bit of a tough one. Again, I would see if you could do student discounts if that's something that you want to carry on with at a certain time of the week, perhaps on the quietest day of the week. But again, remember, what you don't want to do ideally is get a student in at a peak time slot with a discount when you could have a fully priced service with a client that's willing to pay full price. So that is something that I would think about. Victoria says, are there any plans for promotions to be measurable in Slip?
I've just replied.
Thank you.
I'll send a help link.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to wait a second whilst Rob puts the help.
You crack on.
Okay. Okay. Do's or don'ts. Are we going to be discussing the cost of living crisis with our clients? Do or don't? What are we going to be doing? Are we going to discuss it or not? Yemi says no. Okay. Vast majority is don't, which is very good. Why do we not want to talk about it? Well, if clients are coming to see you, they can still afford to come and see you. Their financial position is not your concern. It is not your reality, nor is it your problem. If the conversation of cost of living comes up, I would divert that conversation away as quickly as possible. The reason being, it may make you feel guilty or try and offer them a discount or a lower price. Do not do this. If they are there, they can afford it. Okay. So let's try and avoid conversations about cost of living crisis. This is not our reality. We are a business, not a charity. So try and divert that question away as swiftly as possible. Jen says, I just explained that we're all in the same boat. I have to charge what I charge to survive, just like anyone else. Okay. Sharon says, I do, so they know it affects us too. Yemi says they can afford the free therapy we give them. Exactly. Thank you. Lisa says, piss me off when they moan about prices, then plug all their charges into my plugs. Exactly. Honestly. Apparently 1 in 4 pensioners is a millionaire. Not a lot of people know that. Quite, Martin. Right. No more cost of living crisis discussions, please, my darlings. We want to scrap that from our minds. Okay. The next one. Do we do this or do we not? Do we reduce the price to win a client? Do or don't? Martin says never. Kay says no, never. Good, 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 good. Firstly, you'll insult your loyal clients if you do this. Secondly, you are rewarding bad behavior. This person who you've just given a discount to win their clientele will now know that they can wangle a discount from you anytime they want. If they can't afford your service, offer them a service that is within their price range by having a tiered pricing structure, for example, or send them on their way. What we need to do as business owners is set boundaries. We are a business, not a charity. So I'm very pleased that you've all said no to that one. Well done. 10 points to Gryffindor. Okay. The last one, do we do this or do we not? Lisa says, Waitrose doesn't reduce my shopping bill. No, exactly, Lisa. Thank you. Do we accept cancellations? No, no, we do not. No, no, no. Good. Okay. I think there was somebody in the chat here. Sylvia says yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, within certain timescales. Okay, depends on circumstances. Okay, interesting. Now, cancellations are the biggest cost to your business. They are the reason why we are not as profitable as we could or should or want to be. Now, when I say accepting cancellations, what I mean is we have no deposits in place. We have no show protection in place. They cancel last knockings if they want to. And we just go, okay, fine. That is what I mean about accepting cancellations. Now, we did have somebody in the chat here who hadn't taken a deposit yet. I think they've been with us a year or so. If you haven't started taking deposits, now is the perfect time to do so. You're starting a new year, which means you can start putting new things in place, putting new policies in place. By taking a deposit and having online booking with a deposit attached to it, that is the easiest way to take deposits and to make sure that you are profitable. The one thing you've got to remember, clients are not going to leave you if you start taking deposits. Lisa, that's for you, my darling. What you've got to remember is that you are a business, not a charity, and it is down to you and your team to set boundaries with your clients and to enforce them. Okay, Lisa, if you haven't watched it already, on our Instagram, there is a fantastic Instagram live with one of our fantastic salon owners who talked about deposits. Now, she used to not take any deposits at all in the business, and then they were running their numbers and they realized, oh, bloody hell, we are losing a lot of money. So they have now turned into what they call themselves the deposit police. They take a deposit for every single booking and they have a follow-up. So if I've sent a client a deposit request today, and in 2 weeks' time, when they're due to come in, they haven't come in, they haven't paid their deposit, I'm going to call them up. I'm going to make sure I get that deposit paid, or else they're out and I'm going to get another booking in. It's about setting boundaries. You're not going to lose clients. You may get one or two that kick off. Those are precisely the ones that you want to be taking a deposit from to protect yourself and your business. Okay. If they
Just
are, yeah.
one thing to add, Pierre. I think the way I think we as an industry need to think about it, and I've mentioned this before, we are selling time. When somebody books in, they are reserving your time, and there is an understanding, an informal contract that they will have X amount of time with you. You will do a certain number of things to their hair, to their feet, to their hands, and in return, they'll pay you for that. If they cancel, can you resell that time? Now, if they cancel 2 weeks out, yeah, you probably can resell that time, and you probably should. If they cancel 20 minutes out, can you resell that 3-hour block that you have reserved for that client to do a balayage, whatever? No. So why should you earn less? You are running a business. You are selling yourself your time. And it really is as simple as that. And that's you as if you're behind the chair, that's your staff. Can you resell their time if there's a cancellation? Yes or no? And that's the sort of, I guess, the logic that I would ask myself. Can I resell it? Yes or no? If no, well, yeah, I need to charge you because I can't resell that slot.
I mean, there are going to be extenuating circumstances, okay? And that's entirely for you to judge on a case-by-case basis. Now, what you've got to remember, and this is for you, Lisa, when you take a deposit, you can choose what to do with that deposit. So if, for example, client has a family death or something, big emergency, they can't make it, You can choose to move that deposit to their next booking. So ideally you want to rebook them in, or you can send it back to them. Okay, so you're not, withholding money from them. There is extenuating circumstances, we know that, but for the vast majority of cases, if they cancel within 48 hours of the booking starting, you are well within your rights to keep that deposit. And make sure your policy is visible. Make sure it's on your website. Pin it to the top of your Instagram. Make sure you've got your cancellation bolt-on text, that the policy is on online booking, so that clients cannot wriggle out of it. It is your time. It is your money, as Rob says. Kay says you also need a very clear policy with your staff on what to do if they get a cancellation, i.e. how do you then fill that slot? Exactly. Thank you, Kay. When you do get a cancellation, does everybody in the team know what needs to happen? Because if it's 9 o'clock in the morning and you've got a cancellation at 12, you can fill that slot, but you've got to be hot on it. You've got to get a marketing message out. You've got to do a social media post ASAP and get that slot filled. Okay, and that's the key thing. When my stylist was off sick, the client said to me on the phone, "You owe me 50%. Blimey, Kieran. That's naughty. Okay, so when we are doing any form of change to pricing, change to policy, if we're bringing in deposits, what is the secret sauce? As with any relationship, the key is always, always communication. Okay, so whether you're thinking of doing a price change now, whether you're thinking of doing it in April, whenever you're thinking of doing it, the key thing is make sure your pricing is correct. Make sure you've done the profit principal calculator. And the second thing is communicate. Now, the key thing here is to do it in 2 batches. So what you want to do ideally is you want to find the clients that already have a booking in the diary after you've done the price change. So let's say it's from the 1st of Feb. Okay, everybody that's in the diary after the 1st of February, you want to find those clients specifically. You want to say to them, we're having a price change from the 1st of February, but your next appointment will be honoured at the original price. Thereafter, you will be at the new pricing structure. Okay, message 1. Message 2, you then want to find the clients that don't have a future booking from the 1st of February. You want to send them a message saying, just to let you know, we're having a price change from the 1st of February. Please book your next appointment via this link or call the phone number. No apology, no explanation, nothing. We want to keep this as simple as possible. No emotion behind it. We are having a price change. This is business. I don't want any explanations of cost of living. Our prices have gone up. Everything's gone up. We're going up. None of that. We're having a price change from this date. Book your next appointment. That's it. Simple as possible. Okay, Rob, anything to add there?
Nope, all very clear.
Super. Okay, so this is an example of one of my fabulous salons who did a price change in September. Okay, we'd done the message to all the people who already had a booking, and then we sent this message: Honey HQ is having a small price change from September, so any September bookings will be at the new price. We'd love to see you soon. Book via the link. She got 39 bookings. She made over £2,000. Very simple, very easy. No explanation, no apology, done. And what you're doing is you're getting people in the diary who want to book and who want to pay. Very, very simple. Martin says a simple way of doing it is to have all of your prices from £30, from £50, from whatever. Yes, that's a good point. However, one thing I would add to that is if your prices are in a tiered pricing structure according to length of hair, it should cover all bases in terms of long, short, medium, etc., etc. So I hope that all makes sense. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. Plan of action, my darling. So 1, use the profit principal calculator. Take time out of your day to go and run these numbers. It will set you up for a very profitable year. And as Rob said earlier, if it's £200 out of your diary now because you're spending the time doing this, it could mean an extra £2,000 in your pocket over the year. Okay, take the time to do this calculation. If you need help with this, speak to your business coaches, okay? They are there for a reason to help you go through these numbers, all right? Do your marketing communications in 2 batches, those with an appointment and those without an appointment, and make sure you do a social media post as well. Okay, so that's your action plan. Any last questions before I give you the final bit? So Angela, the profit calculator is coming to you on email within an hour of this ending. It will have a replay of this, so please do pass that replay on to any other salon owners who you think may benefit from that. And it will have the link to the profit calculator. It will take you to a Google page, and all you need to do is click on that to create your own copy. Okay, Tina says, do you recommend a notice in salon? Yes, absolutely. I'd put it on the website, social media, have a notice in salon, and do some marketing. Any idea what the average price for any salon service is? Well, Rob, would you like to say that? Answer that question.
Average bill in the UK is currently running at about £60, and that's
Exactly.
up around 10%
Exactly.
in the last quarter.
Exactly. So that is the average bill. So I would highly recommend.
But with average bill, it's obviously that changes. It changes regionally. The average bill with you, Martin, in London will be very different to a village in Devon or a village in Scotland. So you've got it comes back to this to Pierre's point. Average bill is no different to pricing versus your competitor. It's a guideline. And it's good. It's something that you as an individual business should be tracking, but don't get too fixated about it as to what other salons.
Yeah. One other little last point before I forget. If you've done a price increase recently, and then you go and run your numbers and realize that your services are not as profitable as you would like them to be, but you don't want to have another price increase, go and have a little tweak of some of the services. Okay, if you add £2 on here and there, a few little services here and there, that's fine. Nobody's really going to notice. And then when you come to do the next price change, make sure you do that one properly. Okay, now please look at this screen here, and there's a link in the chat. This is for the state of industry.
Get your phones out.
Get your phones out. You can scan the QR code. This is on the 29th of January at 11 a.m. It will be Rob and I again, and we're going to be looking at Q4 for last year. So things like, what was the average bill? So this will give us an indication of how the industry is doing. And we'll share some good news and spread some love, because there'll be some fantastic and really useful information which will tell us how the industry is doing and how you compare to what the industry has been doing last year and what we need to focus on for next year. So please do sign yourselves up to that one. Any last words, Rob?
Well, if anyone's got any last questions, please bung them in the chat.
Yep, please do.
I think that pricing's a difficult topic.
Yeah.
It's so important to get it right, because it's the fundamentals of your business. And if you are charging people based on what others are charging, and you are losing money, or you're not making the profit that you need, we are a charity. That's essentially that is what you are doing. We are businesses in the current economic situation. You need to think about your pricing to make sure you are profitable. And it really is simple as that. And if clients don't understand that, then it was a great comment right at the start, then they're not the clients you want. Because otherwise, if they're not willing to pay that, or they dispute that, or they're unhappy about that, then essentially they're saying that I'd rather see you go bust. I'd rather see you not exist, and I'll have to go somewhere else. Okay, well, fine then.
Exactly.
So it's really important, and January is a great time to do it. Lots of other businesses will be doing it, and so I highly recommend spend an hour, spend 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it takes, because even if that's 3 hours that you're not in the chair and you're not earning money, you will make tenfold that money back across the course of the year on all of your other staff members.
Yes, exactly. We've had a lovely, sorry, I'm just replying to a message. We've had a lovely message just saying, everybody, we can do this. I love this kind of positivity. So let's do this, people. Let's make sure that we're pricing for profit. Make sure that all your prices are correct, and that you've set boundaries with your clients. So, my darlings, thank you so much for joining us. You will get a replay in your inbox as well as the pricing calculator. You will all be getting one-to-ones with your business coaches. If you haven't got one booked already, please speak to us via the chat bubble and say, can I book my one-to-one with my business coach? And they will go through all of this pricing on a one-to-one basis with you. But thank you so much for joining us, you lovely, lovely lot. And thank you for such wonderful input from you. It's been fantastic. You've been a great group. And we'll see you all on the 29th. Thank you, everybody.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.